Okay. Good morning and welcome to the meeting of the Licensing and Gambling Apps Committee on Wednesday, the 12th of November. For the benefit of the public attending today or watching at live stream, I'm Councillor Derek Beer, Chair of this committee. The committee has been live streamed and we're available to view on the Council website after the meeting. And by attending this meeting, you consent to be filmed. Can I remind everyone that when you're speaking, please state your name, the ward you represent, and speak directly into the microphone so that you can be clearly heard and seen. The officers involved in today's meeting, I'll introduce them to save them doing it themselves. There's John Newcombe, Service Manager for Licensing and Community Safety. Lara Altree, who is Senior Lawyer, but she's joining us online. John Miles, Democratic and Governance Officer. And Lewis Wicks, Democratic and Governance Officer Apprentice. We also have Graham, no, we don't, he's gone. There we go. Thank you. So, do we have any apologies, please? Lewis.
Yes, Chair, we do. We have apologies received from Councillors Bone, Parker, Williams, Morgan, Lugg, Somper and Haynes. But Councillor Jane Sommer said she might join later.
Okay, thank you. So thanks to you who braved it and come. At least you show you cared. Right, now we've got something quite historic to deal with now. They approve and sign the minutes of the last meeting, which, believe it or not, was the 17th of July 2024. And you think we've had meetings since, but not really, because they were the other chair. If you remember, this committee was split into two. So please may I have, of course you all remember, would anyone like to move the approval of the minutes of the 17th of July 2024? Can I have a show of hands? Yeah, seconded by, all in favour? And we all agree with what we've said. Great. Are there any declarations of interest, please? No, thank you. And there are no questions or statements from the public. So this is going to be quite a quick meeting. We're going to apologise for that. But there are time constraints to get this piece of work through. The next meeting will have 4 of these, and so it'll be, obviously, there'll be a lot more work to do, but we have to have this meeting today to get this through to fit with the time frames. But John, I'll ask John Newcombe to come in and explain and introduce the report. Thank you, John.
Good morning, Chairman. Thank you. Morning, committee. This is the Licensing Act 2003 policy. Our existing policy's been in force since 2021 and it's up for renewal. Guidance from the government is that we review it every 5 years as a minimum. Members will be aware that we did take a look at the Licensing Act policy back in 2024 when we reviewed the cumulative impact zone in Weymouth, and it was a decision was made to retain that cumulative impact zone, which in effect is a stress area. But we didn't actually review the rest of the policy at that time. So in order to comply with legislative requirements, we've just done a quick refresh of the policy, and we're bringing it back to members for a decision to go out for a consultation period of no less than 8 weeks. Now that will allow us enough time to bring back any representations that have been lodged against the policy for consideration by the committee, and to get that put forward to full council on the 10th of February for approval and adoption. So we haven't really changed an awful lot, Chairman. So we've updated some of the dates and the addresses, the department names within the council, and we've updated some of the statistics that are contained within the policy. But apart from that, we haven't really changed an awful lot. Now, there is a reason for that. It doesn't need changing. It's a relatively new policy. It's relatively up to date, and not an awful lot has changed in licensing since it was brought in 2021. But the other reason, Chairman, is that the government are currently consulting on some major changes to the Licensing Act. And when I say major changes, I mean they're going to have a significant impact on us and on the policy. It's going to need a proper rewrite. the government are looking at potentially introducing a new licensing objective. So we've got prevention of crime, disorder, public safety, protection of children from harm, and prevention of public nuisance, which you'll be aware of the four pillars of the Licensing Act. And that affects all of our licensed premises, so pubs, clubs, cinemas, off-licence and events, etc. The government are trying to encourage economic development, so they're talking about bringing in an economic development objective. Now, we have responded to that consultation as a council, because we believe that if an economic development objective is brought in, then we should counter that, balance that with a public health objective, because, you know, alcohol, entertainment are licensable, and if we're encouraging more hours, extended hours, and larger amounts of alcohol being sold, then there are public health implications. So we have responded to that. Some of the other changes are about making it easier for businesses to remove conditions, about making it easier for businesses to extend their hours, and give the ability to have more temporary event notices, and also a number of other sort of minor changes. Now, each of those proposals will result in us having to review the licensing policy. So I fully expect to have to do a full rewrite next year. So in the meantime, in order to stay compliant, we've just had a quick refresh. We'll put it out for an 8-week consultation. If there are anything other than minor amendments, so grammatical errors or, you know, updating, anything uncontroversial, then we'll bring that back to members. We've got a date penciled in for another meeting of this committee. We'll bring back a consultation report, like we always do, for consideration, and then any proposed amendments to the policy. We do normally do a 12-week consultation, but because these are just minor updates and nothing contentious, then in discussions with the consultation team, we decided that 8 weeks is ample. I think the only other sort of important part to remind the committee is that we do have a cumulative impact area in Weymouth. We are proposing to retain that as part of this policy, and we're going to review that as a part of the major rewrite next year and bring in some evidence about whether that should be relaxed or whether it should be retained, and that will be a big decision for committee to take at that time. But that won't be coming as part of this minor review. Thank you, Chair. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. Exciting times, really, because this is a bit of a stopgap until we have a real new look at things. And things move on, don't they? What was right 3 years ago may not be right now, and we learn lessons as we go along. So this is the stopgap. This will see us through until we have a good, fresh look. So, Les.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Les Fry, Dorchester West. I'm very comfortable with this policy. Thank you, John, and to all those who've worked on it. It's a really good, thorough policy that covers just about everything you can need. Being involved in the licensing committee, I find that the whole processes work very smoothly. They're there to protect the community, help businesses to thrive and grow, and help businesses going to come in. But we've got the balance about right. So what John was saying about some of the new things the government are bringing in do cause me concern. So we will watch with interest. It almost appears that they want, I mean, one of the things, for example, taking away conditions, business being able to take conditions away easier, that does cause me concern, because the conditions are there for a reason. We don't impose conditions just for the sake of it. They're usually evidence, well, they're always evidence-based, and so on. So I'm very happy to propose this policy, that we accept it, and that it goes out for consultation, and we take it from there. But thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Les. That's very sensible. Sorry, over we go.
Yes, I agree with Les. It looks sound. I think it's really helpful for us as members of the subcommittees that we've got a really good, robust policy that we can make our decisions around. I think, in fairness to licensees, they like us to have a good, strong policy because they know where they stand. Good licensees want to run good, well-run premises. They don't want shady areas where they then have to have arguments with their customers anyway. And this helps them and it helps us. And that's what it should be, because we should be working with our licensed premises holders so that we can create that robust nighttime economy without any real problems coming up that are unexpected. None of us want unexpected problems, and this helps us avoid those.
Thank you. Would you like to second the proposal? Yeah, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. It was just to come back on a comment that Councillor Fry said about removing conditions. We wholeheartedly agree that conditions are there for a reason, and they've been put on to licences in order to promote the licensing objectives. Now, it may transpire over the lifetime of that licence. Remember, this Act goes back to 2004, that actually some of those conditions might be a little bit out of date and could be up for review. Now, we fully accept that, and we don't, oppose businesses from putting applications in. Our concerns would be that if we were to process those applications in a new way, maybe a light touch approach that the government might be thinking of. And our concerns would be twofold there. One is, will we cover our costs? Or, because licensing fees have remained static since 2004. And I don't know anything else that hasn't gone up in price for 20 years, but licensing fees haven't. And so there's a quite a significant impact on our income because of that. But if we're going to be instructed, should we say, to process variation applications without sufficient fee, then we're not going to cover our costs. We're going to run a loss, as we do already. The other important point is that actually, if you're going to remove conditions, there should be a consultation process for that. We have responsible authorities. They've all had copies of original licences, even under transitional provisions, and they've had an opportunity to make representations. If we remove that ability, then we could see quite a dangerous direction of travel towards a mass removal of conditions which promote the licensing objectives, and not a lot that we can do about it. So we've raised concerns about that with the government as part of our consultation response. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, John. My view is, having been involved with the Act when it came in, and I think I chaired the very first meeting that ever happened on it. We learn as we go along, as you say, and times change and people's habits change, but our policies at the moment show not only are we listening, have we got the right things in place, but we also listen to the public and we listen to people with concerns. So it's beyond that. They work at the minute, but it'd be good to have a little look and bring it up to date. Were there any more comments from Les?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Les for Dorchester West. Through you, Chair, John, what's the situation? Have we asked for the fees to be increased at all, or have we written to the government and included that? Because that does seem archaic. As you said, what has stood still since 2004 other than the fees? Because everything else has gone up, rocketed up. So we must be way out of sync, and actually it's costing the council money to run these services when actually they should be run at the cost price, if nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'm more than happy to have a discussion on this topic. It's one of my pet projects to try and persuade the government to update the fees. I understand the political ramifications of adding additional burdens onto the hospitality sector. I get that, but all local governments are under pressures with costs, and for something, a set of fees to be set back in 2004 to not change for 20 years is quite extraordinary. Just to give an example, Chairman, the temporary event notice which is a notification to us that you're having a temporary event, the fee is £21. That doesn't even cover the cost of us putting that on the system, let alone having a subcommittee if there's an objection, or going and inspecting the event and making sure it's compliant. So, and a licensing hearing, for argument's sake, a festival for up to 5,000 people, the annual fee is £70. Now, that we take that through Safety Advisory Group, and we have a whole raft of agencies reviewing significant amounts of documentation, doing site visits, giving advice to people for £70 each year for 5,000 attendees. It's, you know, it just doesn't make sense to me. So what we've said to the government is, if you're going to allow an increase to temporary event notices, then please review the fees. To pick up on the point about what have we done, yes, I've been campaigning quite hard with the LGA, because the LGA have a very strong voice on this with government. And actually, I did a bit of a study. So most premises, most licensed premises, pubs, clubs, off licenses, fall into Band B, which is £180 a year annual fee. Now, if that had kept pace with inflation through the retail price index, that would be almost exactly double what it is now. So, it'd be about £360. And so our income would be almost double, which means that we would be able to do more enforcement, more visits, we'd be able to give out more advice to businesses, we'd be able to help those businesses that need help with their applications. You know, we do what we can with our income, and we try, and give best value for money in the service that we provide. But we've got one hand tied behind our back, really, because they haven't gone up in 20 years. So yes, we are campaigning, and I do badger the LGA and ask them what they're doing about it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks. Excuse me. Thank you, John. I often look, and probably unjustly, that the temporary event notices are very, very sensible. They very work, but they sometimes are a quick way to achieve something which might not get through the system at the other ways. But so it needs reviewing, it needs looking at. And I really didn't understand that the fee wasn't connected to inflation. I've learned this morning. Les, you'd like to say something else?
Yeah, I'd like to come back on that, Chair, and perhaps through you, and I appreciate what John is saying, that the work he's done through the LGA to campaign and try and get these fees increased. Can I ask perhaps to suggest that you write to our local MP here, the local MPs endorse it, and ask them to raise it as well in Parliament, that the fees need to be realistic and proportionate. I fully accept that licensed premises have their own demands on their finances, but so do we endorse it in the council here. Our costs and running operations have gone up significantly. So it's only right that the fees are proportionate, justified, appropriate and necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Les. I think also we have to, that's really important, and that's a good point, and I think we should raise that with our MPs. We also have to be seen to recognise the importance with our changing high streets and our changing town centres, that we really support these people. So I think it needs to be a balance. We don't need to be, I don't want us to be seen as looking through misted windows and protecting ourselves, which is important, but we have to be seen to be protecting our high streets and our town centres and that sort of thing in a proper and orderly fashion. So yes, I take your point, and I think we should do that. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't introduce myself last time. I always forget. Kate Weller. I think not only should we, the licensing committee, licensing office, write to our MPs, those of us who see our MPs frequently should bring it up, because otherwise those letters do tend to go to caseworkers and they get filtered. So if you happen to be having a coffee or something with your local MP, have a word with them.
Absolutely right. Well, if there's anyone else, we've got a proposer and a seconder. We've got 3 parts to the recommendation. I hope you don't mind if we take them all as one. We've got the proposer and seconder. All those in favour, please. Thank you. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Before we move on to item 6, I read with interest one of the reasons why we haven't brought the craft thing back. I don't know if you noticed the new vessel that's being used in Bridport and West Bay, which is doing things in an environmentally sensible way, which is another reason why we've delayed that that piece of work coming forward. I don't know if you'd like to comment on that, just for people's interest, John.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, so there are a number of items which the committee will be aware are outstanding. So our street trading policy, we're just currently reviewing our arrangement with town councils and the recharge system that they utilise. And once we've come to a reasonable opportunity to assess those options for the committee, then we'll bring that back. So street trading policies are almost there. The pleasure boat licensing policy, as a part of that consultation, there were quite a number of technical responses which came back, which involved us having to do some further consultation with partners. So that's the Marine Coast Guard Agency and our harbour masters. So that has taken place now. And so that policy will be amended and brought back for members to the next meeting. And then I believe there's another item around markets. So yes, so apologies that there's only one item for this meeting, but potentially there may well be four for the next meeting coming up.
And we've also said, because these are quick, we'll add a hearing on the end, so we'll do bed and breakfast after the next one. Right. There any urgent items, Lewis?
No, we don't have any urgent items.
And no exempt business? Have a microphone on. Thank you for your attendance this morning, and have a safe rest of the day. It's really sad. Poor John had a flat tyre on the way here, and he only came to look after us. But there we go. Thank you very much.